Wow, this thing pulls hard. This thing handles really well. Hey everyone, welcome back. This week I've been spending time with this 2024 Alfa Romeo Tonale Ti all-wheel drive. This is Alfa Romeo's newest plug-in hybrid, and it gets 32 miles of electric-only range, and then after that range is depleted, it switches into a hybrid. In this video, I'll be discussing what it's been like to live with this week, and just kind of giving my thoughts and inputs on everything. And let's go ahead and check out the exterior. So this Tonale is finished in Rosso red, which is a $500 option, and I think it looks really good. Definitely got a lot of compliments on this car this week, and it turns heads everywhere you go. It's definitely a unique looking vehicle. There's nothing else quite like it on the road, and that's what I really like about this car. It doesn't really blend in, surprisingly. In a world full of crossovers these days, building one that doesn't really blend in with everything else is kind of a challenge, and I think this is a great example of not blending in. Up front here, you get Alfa Romeo's signature grille and these wonderful LED headlights that also bend when you go around corners. Very attractive. I believe those headlights pay homage to older Alfa Romeo models. This vehicle's full of that, of combining older Alfa Romeo models and modernizing it into this car. It's very cool. I mean, you can see right here on the side mirror, there's an Italian flag in the turn signal on the side there. That's really cool. These wheels, I really like these wheels. First initial impressions, I was like, you know what? I don't really know if I like these, but they've grown on me during the week. Like I said, standing out from the competition, this does, and I think one of the reasons why it does is these wheels. This is a 18-inch wheel wrapped in Goodyear Eagle Sport. Very nice tire and wheel combo. No complaints at all this week. Pretty impressed with that. I drove through some rain and handled it perfectly fine. Goes fine around corners. No complaints there. But yeah, guys, look at this thing. It's very sharp. I really like the back here. How it just kind of slopes down, and you have the Tonale in the middle there with that Alfa Romeo badge. I'm not sure if you can see, but the LED light bar that goes across the back there, it is just super attractive. While we're back here, we'll go ahead and take a look at the trunk. This does have a kick function. You just put your foot underneath the car and kick underneath, and it'll open up this trunk. You get a pretty decent amount of trunk space back here. You get your cargo hooks for your grocery bags, 12-volt outlet, and of course no spare tire because this is a hybrid and that's where the battery's at. This is where the charger would go, which is in my garage at the moment. You do get a fix-a-flat kit and some other things down here, tow hook. Not bad. But I was able to fit, a suitcase and like 4 reusable grocery bags in here. This is fine for just like going around town, getting some groceries, going to work, or even small trips if if it's just you and your wife or something like that. If you have kids or something, you might want to step up to something bigger. But I mean, really no complaints there. This is also removable as well if you don't want this. As you can see, this is a power lift gate as well. You just hit this button and it will go down. Pretty quick too, it's not too bad. So on this side of the vehicle, you will see that there's a cover, and that opens access to the electronic charging port. With the charger that they give you, that you can plug in your traditional home outlet, this will charge the vehicle in a little over 8 hours, and that's what I was about getting when I was charging it. And if you have I think 240-volt outlet in your garage, you can get an optional charger that will charge it in just over 2.5. So really not that bad. 32 miles of electric-only range, and then after that, it goes to a hybrid, which you can fill your gasoline up on this side. I believe the total range on this is just over 300 miles, so it's really not that bad. It's a great commuter car, great for small trips as well. So let's go ahead and check out what's under the hood. So under the hood here is a 1.3 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder mated to a 6-speed conventional automatic transmission, and in the back are 2 electric motors powered by a 14.8 kilowatt battery pack that gives a combined power output of 285 horsepower and 347 pound-foot of torque. Really not bad for a small crossover like this, and can propel this thing from 0 to 60 in about 5.5 seconds. All right, let's go ahead and check out the back seat. Pretty easy ingress and egress out of the back seat. It's really not that bad. Got a couple vents back here, a USB-C port, a USB port, a couple of map pockets. And really, this is a really comfortable place to be. I'm 6 foot and the driver's seat is set to my position, and I got a little over an inch of leg room and probably just a little over an inch of headroom. It's really not that bad back here. You get a pull down center armrest with a ski pass through, couple cup holders here, and I think a place to put your phone or something like that. I had a person back here on a road trip for about 2 hours, and they said it was pretty comfortable and no complaints here. I also had my buddy who's 6'4" fit back here, and he said he didn't have any complaints as well. Quick shot of the dash here. I really like what they did. It looks really nice. We'll get to all the features here in a moment. All right, now checking out the driver's seat here. Both seats are power, and they have this like leather bolstering with this like cloth insert in the middle. Very comfortable, very nice seats. Had no complaints this week at all with them. So in the center here, you do get a 12.3-inch display that's pretty much fully customizable. And for your infotainment here, you get a 10.3-inch display with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And you do get a very nice reverse camera that has surround view that is very helpful. It's a little bit laggy. The refresh rate is like maybe 15 FPS. I wish they could improve that a little bit. But you do get a couple different views to choose from, and you can even look out the front as well. Very helpful. Find myself using that several times this week to park in some tight spaces. Very helpful. The infotainment overall is a little bit on the laggier side. It's not terrible. It's not definitely not the worst I've ever seen, but it could use a little bit of improvement. Navigation system works really nice, and really no complaints there. The stereo quality in here is pretty good as well. I'd say it's above average. It's nothing mind-blowing, but it's definitely adequate for the price of the vehicle. Down here you get all your climate controls. I really like how this is laid out here. You just push up and down on the switches. Really cool there. You get a wireless phone charger, a USB port, a USB-C port, and a 12-volt outlet. You do get your drive mode selector there, which we'll cover on the test drive. You got your volume knob, your parking brake, your e-save button, your parking assist for perpendicular and parallel, and you can turn your parking sensors off. You do get a couple cup holders here that fits my water bottle and some other soft drinks and stuff pretty well. And you do get a small center console with a decent size glove box. Let's go ahead and take out the Monroney here and look at it. This one, as tested, is $49,090. And the two options that are on this vehicle is the Rosso Red exterior paint for $500 and the active driving assist package. So overall, this interior is a really nice place to be. I've got really no complaints on the quality at all. Everything in here is pretty well built, nice soft touch materials. No really squeaks or rattles on anything abnormal this week, and I think it'll hold up pretty well in the long term. You do get HomeLink up here, and you do get a illuminated visor mirror with a good place to put like receipts or cards up here. And speaking of receipts, this vehicle cost me $30 to fill up from completely empty. So just FYI, and that's with gas at $3.50 a gallon. It's pretty inexpensive to fill up. No complaints there at all. Auto dimming rear view mirror, and you do get all your lighting controls for the interior. I really like this interior. I think it looks really good. I really like the vent design and stuff like that. I mean, you can go over here and just close the vents by just twisting this knob. It's a very tactile feel. You even get Alfa Romeo kind of embossed in the headrest as well. Very nice. Oh, one thing I will say before we begin the drive here, that the kick plate here is very prone to scratching, and it's kind of hard to get in and out of. You kind of kick your shoe every single time you get in and out of it. So go ahead and keep that in mind if you go ahead and check out this car. It's not that big of a deal, but it's definitely something I do every single time I get in and out of the vehicle. So let's go ahead and take this thing for a spin. We'll go ahead and start out in natural mode here. This is just basically your normal drive mode, and if your battery's charged, it will kind of use more so the EV battery, and then if needed, it will kick in the gas motor. So in the gauge cluster, you do get a couple different views. You have this view here, and then you kind of got a calm view, which just shows you the speedometer and nothing else. Very nice for at night. And then you get this like old traditional view, which is really cool. It kind of reflects how the old school Alfa Romeos look like. It's pretty much a modern take on an old school design there. I think it looks really good, but do like this screen the best. Now, one thing that kind of does bother me about this car is the turn signals. I'm used to traditional turn signals where, you know, you push down on the lever and it stays down until the you know, your turn is completed. But this one, you just push down and it springs right back up. It's kind of annoying when you want to turn it off. I guess you can just, you know, hit it up if you want to cancel it, but it's much easier to just, like, you know, turn the turn signal stock up. This ride's pretty nice too. I was really surprised because the wheels are so big of how smooth it rides. I got really no complaints there. I've read some other reviews on this car and they said the ride is pretty stiff, but I find it to be actually pretty nice. I don't think it's really that stiff at all. And one thing I will say, it is a little bit louder than I would like, especially for this price point. I do think there could be a little bit more sound dampening involved, as it kind of does get loud on the highway and you have to turn the stereo up if you want to hear it, or a phone conversation. Now, it's nowhere near as loud as the Volkswagen Taos I tested a couple weeks ago. That was just unacceptable. But yeah, it is kind of on the louder side for the price point in here. But I will say, it is not unacceptable. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn this into A mode, which I think stands for Advanced Efficiency. This just makes the car powered by the electric motor in the rear. And this is great if you just want to drive to work on electric only, or, you know, somewhere around town on electric only. It's definitely powerful enough, and it'll get you around town with the perfect amount of power. No really complaints there at all. If you need more power than what the electric motor can give you, there's a kick down switch. If you put your foot down and floor it, it'll just you know, switch to the gas engine and help you get more power. Now, one thing I really wish this thing had is a way to control regen, because as of right now, there is no way to select the amount of regen that you want, and there really isn't much. I really wish, like, they could have put like paddle shifters, like kind of like Honda did, to where you can select the amount of regen that you want. So the transition from the electric to the gas engine, when it needs to do it, is pretty seamless. I mean, you really can't tell at all. But I will say, you know, having the traditional 6-speed automatic transmission, it's not as smooth as like something like a CVT would be. You definitely feel the shifts in there, and then, you know, when you have to downshift, or, you know, you're coming up and approaching somebody and you need to get on the gas a little more, there's a little bit of hesitation, and you can kind of feel the transmission shifting. It's, you know, basically what I'm trying to say here. It's definitely not as smooth as something with a CVT. All right, let's do a quick 0 to 60 test. Let's go ahead and put this into dynamic mode, which is their sport mode. Kind of tightens up the steering, makes the throttle a little bit more responsive. And come to a complete stop here. And floor it. Very fast. Very quick. No complaints at all about the power on this thing. It definitely will put you back in your seat, and it really sounds like a spaceship. You kind of get that, you know, the engine sound, and you get that spaceship sound in the rear. Really cool. You can definitely tell it's a little bit rear-wheel drive biased, that's for sure. But you can definitely hustle this thing around and throw it into some corners. It doesn't really have the most, like, the best steering feel. It's kind of dull, but it handles pretty well. There's some body roll, but, you know, if you want to throw this thing into some corners on some back roads, it's definitely fun to do that. It does have a decent amount of mid-range pickup power too. I mean, this thing just pulls pretty freaking hard. This thing also gets pretty decent fuel economy as well. This week I have been averaging 39.1 miles a gallon, and that's with a couple 100-mile trip to Lake Erie this weekend. But I was using this eSave button down here, and what this eSave button does is, well, you can choose what it does in this infotainment system, but I have it set up to charge the onboard battery for the electric motors, so you can drive on electric only, which is really cool. So what it did is, I left work to go up to the lake, and I had about 14 miles of range left. And what it was doing, it was using the electric motor to charge the battery in the back for the electric motors. And by the time I got to the place, I had a little over 80% of range, which is I think like 28 miles or something like that. So I was able to, you know, ride around Lake Erie and the place I was at on just fully electric, which is awesome. So you can kind of plan ahead. If you don't have a charger accessible to you, you can kind of plan ahead and use the eSave button and charge the vehicle that way. Then you do get automatic high beams, automatic wipers, and I will say the automatic wipers worked wonderfully this weekend. It rained pretty hard. I didn't have to adjust them at all. They worked perfect. Wow, this thing pulls hard. So this does have Alfa Romeo's driving assist system. To engage it, all you got to do is enable the adaptive cruise control and then hit the steering button, and it'll keep you centered in the lines. And the adaptive cruise control has worked really nice as well. You know, you turn your turn signal on when you're ready to pass somebody, it'll speed up and shoot around them. You can adjust the following distance like any normal adaptive cruise control. Yeah, no complaints with the system at all this week, and it worked wonderfully. Now, one thing that is kind of a major downfall for me with this vehicle is the pedal box. I have size 13 feet, and I don't know if you can see right now. They are very close together, and sometimes I find myself hitting the gas and the brake accidentally at the same time. It's just made for really small feet, not my size 13 gargantuan feet. So as you can see, this is the electric motor doing all the work right now, and it propelled it up pretty nicely. It's not the fastest in just electric only, but it's enough to satisfy that electric car feel. This thing handles really well. This vehicle also does have traffic sign recognition as well, and it works in conjunction with the adaptive cruise control system. And what it'll do is, if it senses a speed limit change and your adaptive cruise control is engaged, it will alert you on the right side here, and will ask you if you want your cruise control set to the speed limit that it changed to. I find that very awesome, definitely helpful on some long highway trips. And yeah, it's really cool. All right, let's do a quick turning radius test. We'll turn this all the way to the lock. This vehicle definitely reaches out there. It's definitely not the tightest turning radius, but it's overall pretty maneuverable. I would say it's a little bit above average. All right, guys, that's it. This is the 2024 Alfa Romeo Tonale Ti all-wheel drive. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Stay tuned, as there will be plenty more. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at PaulsPlaceYT for more content, and we'll see you in the next one.